He was worth over $8 billion, but he didn't buy a mansion. He didn't own a yacht. He didn't even wear a Rolex. Instead, he wore a $10 watch from Target, flew coach, and lived in a rented apartment. He said his goal was to die broke, and he did. This is the story of Chuck Feeney, the billionaire you've never heard of, because he wanted it that way. And the way he built, gave, and vanished might be the most powerful wealth story you'll ever hear. Stick around, because by the end, you might never see money the same way again. Chuck Feeney wasn't born rich. He grew up during the Great Depression, the son of Irish-American working-class parents in New Jersey. He sold Christmas cards door to door. He shoveled snow. He hustled. That mindset, that willingness to do what others wouldn't, never left him. After serving in the Air Force, he used the GI Bill to attend Cornell University. That education, combined with his street smarts, helped him spot a growing opportunity: duty-free shopping. In 1960, he co-founded Duty Free Shoppers Group, a retail empire built on selling luxury goods to travelers without import taxes. While others showed off wealth, Chuck quietly built an empire. At one point, he was making hundreds of millions a year, and no one even knew, because Chuck Feeney was living in stealth mode. He was secretly transferring nearly all of his wealth into a foundation he created, the Atlantic Philanthropies. And here's the kicker: he made the foundation anonymous. For decades, people had no idea who was behind the billions being given away. While other billionaires were putting their names on buildings, Chuck was removing his. He gave more than $3.7 billion to education. He helped fund peace efforts in Northern Ireland. He donated hundreds of millions to global health initiatives. He built a university campus in Vietnam. He backed health reform in South Africa. He invested in aging research, human rights, and cancer care. Hospitals, universities, research labs. Hundreds of institutions were built, modernized, and saved by someone they didn't even know. And the man behind it all? Still flying coach, still eating street food, still giving in secret. Chuck Feeney had a simple rule: giving while living. He believed wealth wasn't something to hoard, it was something to use, urgently, purposefully, and without need for attention. Most billionaires set up legacy foundations that give after they die. Chuck said, "I want the joy of giving now." And while others delayed generosity until it was tax-advantaged or posthumous, Chuck wrote checks in real time. He didn't wait for legacy, he lived it. When asked why, he said, "It's a lot more fun to give while you're alive than to give when you're dead." He gave while still walking the halls of the buildings he helped construct. He saw the impact on students, patients, and communities firsthand. He watched hope take root, not in his name, but in theirs. By 2012, Chuck Feeney had given away almost everything. His foundation would eventually total over $8 billion in lifetime donations. And when he finally shut down the Atlantic Philanthropies in 2020, he marked the moment by signing the paperwork at a rented desk with a plastic watch on his wrist. That was Chuck. No spotlight, no stage, just quiet impact. Chuck Feeney had no mansion, no private island, no super yacht. He left behind no heirs to a fortune, just institutions, breakthroughs, and millions of lives changed. He and his wife lived in a modest San Francisco apartment. His children received modest inheritances, enough to be comfortable, but not entitled. He believed money should be a tool, not a trap, and he never wanted credit. He once said, "It's the intelligent thing to be frugal." Compare that to how most billionaires live today. Self-branded, overexposed, chasing legacy through fame, not impact. Chuck Feeney didn't need a statue. He left something better, a blueprint for how to get rich quietly, give generously, and walk away fulfilled. His influence quietly shaped other billionaires too. Bill Gates and Warren Buffett credited Feeney as inspiration for the Giving Pledge, their public commitment to give away at least half their wealth. Chuck had no public campaign, but he moved titans. And still, he stayed behind the curtain. His story isn't flashy, but it's unforgettable, because it asks a question most people never consider. What if the real flex is disappearing? Feeney once said he'd rather set an example than sit on a throne. He didn't want to be idolized. He wanted others to act, and people did. His story spread, not through headlines, but through whispers, through word of mouth, through admiration earned, not demanded. He redefined what wealth could do, and more importantly, what it should do. He proved that you don't need $1 billion to make a difference. You need courage. Courage to give, to be forgotten, to let your work speak louder than your name. That's what Chuck Feeney mastered. He didn't want to be remembered for what he had. He wanted to be remembered, if at all, for what he gave away, and for the way he gave it, humbly, urgently, quietly. So what does his story teach us? That real wealth is what you build when no one is watching. That generosity means more when it's uncomfortable. That the most powerful thing you can do with money is let go of it. Chuck Feeney left the world better and lighter than he found it. And in doing so, he changed what legacy really means. And here's the part that most people overlook. Chuck Feeney was strategic, not reckless. He wasn't just generous, he was methodical. He didn't blindly donate, he studied. He didn't throw money at problems, he partnered with experts. He wanted impact, not attention. He asked questions that most philanthropists ignore. What will this gift do in 10 years? What if we solve the root cause instead of the symptom? Who will this empower, and how do we make it sustainable? That's what made him different. That's what made it last. Even the way he operated his foundation was different. Lean staff, no frills, no fluff. Every dollar was scrutinized for efficiency. His goal wasn't just to give, it was to solve. And that's a mindset we rarely associate with billionaires. Most building, few repair. Chuck Feeney did both. He once told a friend, "I want my last check to bounce." That's how committed he was to giving it all away. Not for praise, but for purpose. So when you think of Chuck Feeney, think of more than just a man who gave. Think of a man who designed his life around giving, who optimized his fortune not for accumulation, but for activation. He didn't believe money should make you louder. He believed it should make others heard. And that's why, decades from now, people may still be benefiting from a gift they'll never trace back to him. He built without a plaque, he gave without a name, he exited with dignity. And if that isn't a masterclass in wealth, what is? If this video moved you, subscribe to Forged in Fortune. Because we don't just tell stories about money, we tell stories about meaning,